guys, Mike Dawes here, back for another column at Guitar World magazine here in Manhattan on a beautiful summer's day. And the lesson I want to talk to you about today is related to a column that we did previously around a song from my new record called Overload. And in this song, I actually composed this song in New York backstage, or I started writing it backstage at the Blue Note just down the street because it has a fantastic reverb in the bathroom of the Blue Note. And I was working on my percussive pattern in my right hand, and I actually built an entire song around this. I would highly recommend that before proceeding with this, you go back and look at that. It's a column called Overload, developing a song from percussion. Okay, and what I taught in that lesson, among other things, was a pattern like this. Okay, I will break it down for you briefly, but I highly recommend checking it out there. The middle section of the song is what I want to look at today. And what I've done for the middle section of Overload is I've taken that beat, made a little variation of it, and then added in a bass line to it. Okay, the example of the percussive beat up to speed sounds something like this, and I will break it down. Okay, 3, 4. Okay. That's a full 1, 2 bars slow, 4 bars fast, okay? What I'm doing there is a combination of kick drums, snare drums, and everything in between, okay? I'm starting by striking the bottom string and getting that same pattern that we had in the previous column, okay? Chop, snare, okay? Kick drum, alternate, chop chop, which is slap and upstroke and snare. The rest of the pattern up to there is exactly the same as the last column. Then we're going to jump straight back in for the attack again. Okay, so we're going to play that slowly. Once again, do check out the previous column for detailed instruction on the specific little nuggets there, okay? Okay, that's where we've got to, and then this next little example is something a little bit different, where we're going to be adding in a little finger roll a la Ben Lacey style, okay? Okay, so this is the first example that will be different from the last exercise, and I really want you to try that, okay? A really good way of getting used to getting multiple little note flourishes. So what I'm doing here is using my second finger and third finger sort of tap multiple accents just in the left hand, okay? It's important to have your first finger covering all of the strings, okay? So you don't have any notes ringing. We're going strictly percussion at the moment, okay? You can get nice little patterns just like this from that. So practice striking the strings like this, making a little fret wire noise, but you don't want to press too hard so you're actually connecting with the wood, because otherwise you're going to get notes. You don't want to do that, okay? Something that I would liken this to is, I guess any fans of the band Freak Kitchen or Matthias Eklund will know that he likes to get harmonics with the second finger by slapping the string like this. It's exactly the same technique as that, in that the first finger is muting the unwanted strings and the second finger is coming down to vibrate only, not fret, okay? Or the only difference for what I'm doing is my first finger is basically covering all the strings, so we have no ambient noise there, okay? So once again, that full percussive pattern is. Okay, so hopefully you can break that down and figure that out, again, using the knowledge from the previous column as well. Now what I've done with the middle section is added a different bass line on top of that. So I'm going to show you the bass line, then we're going to combine it with the percussion, and then we're going to add the chords to it to have a multi-layered sort of chaotic percussion vibe with funky vibes and stevesvibes.com. Okay, so the bass line is something like this. We're in Dadgad once again, D-A-D-G-A-D. On the record, I believe I'm a semitone down, so the C-sharp equivalent. And the bass line is in D minor. It's something like this in 4/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very kind of syncopated, unusual bass line again. I'll play it again slowly. 3, 4. peculiar rhythm at the end there. It might sound a bit unusual by itself, but when we combine it with exactly what this hand is doing, we get a wonderful blend of bass and percussion. Some nice syncopation here. Okay, everything sounds a little bit more crazy. I will break this down. Okay, so exactly the same bass line. This hand, to begin with, is going to reveal these bottom 2 strings, so we get a nice little octave harmony there. That's the first pattern. Okay, you should be familiar with that by now. Kick drum with the strum, slap, upstroke, and snare. That's when we do our bass and our double that you remember from last time. Finger, then thumb. Okay, nice hammer-ons and pull-offs to get those little syncopated vibes. So that upstroke is twinned with that single 8th fret note. That's pull-off up with the index finger, bass drum with silence, and then the slap. Okay, a little bit interesting. Pretty straightforward there. That's kick, strum, accent in this hand, and the same again with the kick and the note, okay? Okay. Then we go down and we do our little finger roll. That's 3rd fret. The finger roll before we slide the first finger up to the 5th fret, okay? And slowly one more time. Okay. The second half is exactly the same, but the end we're going to play around with some nice harmonics, just like we did in the last column, exchanging a nice little bit of interplay between the 2 hands, okay? So the second half sounds like this. Getting that nice little harmonic at the end there, okay? So what I was doing there, same up to here. Getting this nice little pattern now. We have kick, harmonic. So that's kick, harmonic, Matthias Eklund style. Kick, snare. Then another harmonic, okay? Nice little exercise for you to try by yourself, actually. Okay. Then we have a big finger roll. All fingers, 10 fingers, octopus fingers, whatever you want there. The idea is to have a nice big sort of drum fill. And then we're going to hammer a power chord onto that 3rd fret with a kick drum at the same time for extra power. Then we're going to snare it, which means I'm going to hit here and slap with my index finger on that power chord at the same time, okay? Okay, finger roll, snare, kick and power chord, snare and power chord. Then I'm going to get a harmonic, but instead of on the 7th fret, we're going to do it 12 frets higher, and I'm actually going to hit it with my index finger, okay, as a sort of slap harmonic on the bottom 2 strings. Okay, so it's very hard to follow fast. I'll play that last passage slowly for you as well. Okay, so although that last harmonic sounds like it should be here, it's actually completely played with one hand. You just need this hand to mute, okay? So that's the bass version. Okay, very funky when you get it up to speed, all right? Now we're going to take that and add the final layer to it, which is some very interesting chords, starting with a D minor on the top 4 strings, 3 strings, okay? 4 if you count another root. On the record, I actually have some wah-wah as well. I used a crybaby wah-wah to make this little extra funky section sound extra funky, okay? But we're going to start with exactly the same pattern with this chord on the top 3 strings, okay? But instead of sliding from that C up to the D, we're going to be doing our second root here and hammering straight to the D. So this is a pretty awkward stretch, but the right hand pattern is exactly the same. So instead of playing the C, we've got this D minor triad on the top, okay, which is 7th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret, bottom string playing with the kick. Now this is another thing that you might need to practice first, is raking a chord and adding the kick drum to the top of the chord, okay, before we hammer onto the 5th fret on the A string, just like that, okay. After you're strumming that chord, we have this interesting little pattern where we're moving down to the G, as before with the bass line. We're going to have a kick drum and a hammer at the same time, then a slap, then a snare slap. Okay, now what I mean by that is the snare slap is sort of muting the strings at the same time as the thumb is clicking that bottom string. Pick, hammer with a kick drum, slap it, and then mute it with the snare as well, okay? Then we're going to go to this nice sort of major 7th shape, okay, which is the second finger playing the 8th fret of the bottom string. And then we have this G string on fret 7. We have the A string. Again, we're in Dagad, so this is an A string now, on fret 8, and then fret 7 on the top as well. Okay, nice funky sounding chord there. So we're going to pick open, hammer on, pick that chord as normal. Big snare, then we use our finger to pull up and hammer onto that 7th fret there. Then we have this nice extension here, another quite hard chord to play if your acoustic guitar strings are set quite high. I'd always recommend a very low action for this kind of playing, okay? And my string gauge, for those who are interested, is sort of 56, 42, 32, 24, 17, and 13. It's a Dad-Gad set, essentially, set up perfectly for this tuning, okay? Okay, so that's a nice little passage involving some interesting bass pull-offs. So I'm sort of using what fingers I have available to enhance the bass line a little bit. And I'm catching that with my index finger as I come up before the snare. Bass snare there. Another little chord stab on the upstroke before a little cha-cha-cha from our little scratchy pad, which, once again, for those joining us, if you haven't seen my columns before, it's a piece of spruce wood stuck to my guitar, where as you scratch it, the soft bits of the wood get worn away, essentially to reveal the hard grain, creating a rarer sound, okay? We're going to finish the exercise with these sort of minor 7 shapes, G minor 7, and then A minor 7. More straightforward playing there. Kick drums and snare drums only, no crazy chopping. And that's pretty much the whole pattern there, so slowly. So that's a nice pattern involving a complex right-hand percussion, then adding in the bass line, then adding in some chords on top, okay? And once again, if you want to play this true to the original, add a little bit of wah-wah in there, maybe put an octave pedal on the bottom few strings if you have a polyphonic octave pedal, like the Boss OC3 or something. And you can get some really cool vibes. So I know that's a very complicated one. Hopefully on the video you can slow that down and everything will be clear. And once again, I highly recommend checking out the previous column on this song, Overload, to get some of those really intricate details explained in a much more kind of elaborate way. And there'll be a link to that video in the description that you can click on. So good luck with that, guys. Once again, that's an extract from Overload, which is the 7th track on my new album, Era. And I hope to see you soon. And yeah, good luck with it.